Don't blink, it's your blink. Welcome to the show. Because doing well, having a wonderful day on this. Oh, there you go. There you go. Better, much better. On this 8th October 2025. Today is the 7th, is 2:29 a.m. We are giving you my final thoughts on the Ed Gibb series. So we watched the whole 8 episode. We finished it about an hour ago. I was playing some Fortnite, which is great because we saw it in 2 days. So that means that it's very, very bingeable, right? So this is something I should do tomorrow when I sleep on it, but I want to do it now because it's fresh. And worst case, I'll finish my review and I do another video after that. So let's think about the Ed Gibb series. So Ed Gein series. So what I did love and absolutely fucking adore that I didn't know nothing about the guy. I don't know nothing about the Mendes brother. I didn't know anything about Jeffrey Dahmer. I didn't know about anything about John Wayne Gacy. I didn't know. I didn't know Rocco Luca Magnora. Luca Rocco Magnora because he's from Montreal, so I knew him. But yeah, I don't know anything. Oh, by the way, was he a serial killer? No, he just killed one person. So take that out of the way. So with the Ed Gein, I was very. First of all, my first thought was like, okay, well, this is a good series, and it was grotesque, obscene. So that's my first thought. It's so complex because there's so much information at the same time. It's a great show. I would actually even recommend it, but it's really hard. It's really rough. It's really rough because so the show itself is what? The show is about a killer that you end up understanding that he has schizophrenia, and you realize that okay, so this is a big spoiler. So this is gonna be full of spoiler. Please don't watch. And then you realize that the reason why he cuts up those bodies is because he is a fan of a person that made freaking, I don't know. I don't know why he worships her, but he worshipped a person that made lampshade posts with with human skin, right? So then, but then you realize that he skinned those people because he feels like, he feels like, he wants to embody them, right? So then you feel like he's transsexual, but he's not, because his mom was so rough with him when he was playing with his penis the first time he masturbated, that he was like, he never wanted, he wanted to get off the penis. He wanted to be like, hey, I don't want to have this penis, right? And because I don't want to have this penis, I identify as a woman. But I don't identify as a woman, I just find myself dirty. So this is complex, right? Ed Gein is a guy that is very troubled, right? And that's during the thing. The So let's start with the beginning. Let's start with the then we'll go to the end, and then I will say about my good points. Like the beginning is amazing because in the first episode, which is what we did in a review, he killed two people. The two people is one of his accident, one of them is by purpose. This purposeful killing is a bad person, and the accidental one is one that's important to him. Wasn't important. It's important when you think about, okay, well, is he a serial killer? Did he kill for fun or did he kill for need? He didn't kill the first one. He wanted to. It was an accident. The second one, he felt like he needed to versus he wanted to. There's possibly a want to, of course, but it was more so a case of this person needs to die. We still recording? We're still recording. Good. Good. It rained a lot last night. So with again, what we see is, and it's kind of nice because you realize just how fucked up he is, but then you don't really realize what it is. You don't know, like, okay, is he crazy? Is it because his mom was so abusive that it made him go insane? Does he have mental issue to begin with? And the truth is, he has mental issue to begin with. You can tell right away. By the way, his mannerism, his way of speaking, he thinks like a kid. So, but then at the same time, he thinks like a kid because he was never allowed a chill childhood. Because he was never allowed a childhood, he wants to relive that childhood that was taken away from him, right? So there's that. Also, the cool thing here is there's a really nice, really nice. I'm gonna tell you something. I'm gonna tell you the positive thing, and then I'm gonna tell you the negative thing. I didn't like the ending. There's a real nice progress of things, right? So you see from point A of the beginning of killing to point B where you understand how many people he killed, right? And this is gonna be super nice. And this is again plenty of spoilers, so please understand that, okay? The ending was so fucking bullshit because you forgive him, you feel bad for him. They explained that he wasn't a bad guy, he was just a guy with problems. And I'm like, okay, well, I mean, instead that he had a problem, he still killed 20 people, right? This is not, you're not gonna, yeah, it's not a good person, right? There's a point where, problem or not, you have to stop, right? You have to stop. Um, that's just the way it is. And I didn't like the ending because of that. Also, the ending is, but this is also super important because it depends if you're seeing the life or the movie or the series through the eyes of Ed Gein. Because if you are and he's schizophrenic, then you have a hard time realizing what is true and what is not true. Now, I will say this: the show does a really good job at explaining or verbalizing what is schizophrenia because I didn't know. And after watching the show, I know for a fact. The reason why we don't have this light is because, well, technically speaking, if I have the lights, my neighbor's gonna say I'm upstairs, and if they hear something, they'll see the light and they'll say, "Oh, he's outside." But when they hear a little voice and there's no light, they'll think they go crazy. So that's better. So the I'm gonna talk about some of the okay. So you know what? This is what positive, is what negative, right? So one of the positive is really when you realize just how much is so Ed is a circumstances of action. There's a lot of things that happen in his life that might have led him. Now, ultimately speaking, what he did was because of his schizophrenia, but there's a lot of elements of his life that had a negative impact on his sickness. So when you realize that, for example, his mom, that was way too rough, his girlfriend who was sleeping around, who was insane, who was not necessarily mean to him, but kind of not the best person to him. And because she wasn't the best person to him, it's kind of tough, right? And his girlfriend that had his girlfriend Adeline, she plays a wonderful role, but Adeline is this person who is very destructive. Adeline, I like to picture her as a bonfire, and you need wood to burn that bonfire. And when you don't have any bonfire left, she leaves. So she leaves town, and then she goes to the city. And she goes to the city, and she's fucked. Because she's fucked, she comes back, and then like, okay, well, I burned every single person I had here. What am I supposed to do? She goes back to Ed, which is a shame because he didn't deserve that. And I'm gonna tell you something that's insane. Like, she is literally the one telling him, "Hey, I don't want to fuck you because I don't love you." But you know who wants to fuck you? The dead people that you dig up, right? And the dead people that you dig up, they want to have sex with you. But the funny thing is, you start having sex with the dead bodies, and then when she comes in, it's like, "Oh, I don't like living people anymore. I'm sorry." So kind of like it's a really weird thing. So this is a positive, negative. So there's a lot of things that are so fucking stupid. For example, right? And I absolutely love the perversion of Albert Hitchcock because it's like, okay, well, there's a crazy person, let's make a movie out of it. And because it's a crazy person and people, they want to see the crazy person. People were okay with a person like Ed Gein existing out there as long as they got the movie and they got the sick pleasure by watching it, right? And then the abandoned ID. After episode number 3, we don't even hear about Albert Hitchcock anymore. So like, what was the point? What was the point? And then you realize the point is to have the importance of Ed Gein. So, for example, at the very end, I get message from serial killer. I said, "Hey, you inspire me. You inspire me. You're my fucking idol." And Ed is like, "I despise those people. I don't like them. I don't like them. I don't. We're not the same." So he kind of has this thing, right? And this is insane. Another good point. I do find the narrative, the acting is chef kisses. I do find the narrative quite interesting. So, for example, one of my favorite thing, which is kind of crazy, right? One of my favorite thing is he sees a transsexual on TV, and he's like, "Hey, this person is having tits and she doesn't have a dick," right? Now you learn later on that he has genitalia, and genitalia is he's so afraid of his own part, he feels so dirty with his own part, he doesn't want to have them. So he doesn't romanticize the idea of being a woman, but because he knows that he doesn't want to have a penis, he's like, okay, well, there's man and woman. If I don't have a penis, that makes me a woman. And if I'm a woman, I'm going to be a pretty woman. Simple enough, right? Yeah. So narratively speaking, it's interesting. The girlfriend and what she does to him is super interesting. The evolution, once again, for example, the third episode, he goes out with a girl, right? And I think he wants to kill her, but he doesn't end up killing her. So what he does is he falls like not in love with her, but he has this romance with her, and his mom, she's telling him, hey, she's not a good one for you. So with his kids, the friend that what I really enjoyed was the picture. I'm a guy of pictures. I'm visual. So the doctor basically tells him, hey, your mind is a bunch of broken pieces of a mirror. Your thoughts, you feel like they're coming from somebody. So everything that his mom told him was his own thoughts. Everything that the body told him was his own thoughts, right? And oh, Ed was a victim of his surrounding, but a victim of his own mind himself, right? So that's the positive. I didn't like the narrative. There's a bunch of things. For example, the actor that plays him kind of goes insane because he's playing such a bad guy. The fact that all of these serial killer saw him as a worthy, and then ultimately speaking, this is amazing because this is explanation. Because he's like, okay, well, I did all of those things and I don't even know this. But then it happens and it's just so good. Another thing that is really fucking good is the narrative. In the case of how can I say this? Like, oh yeah, okay, cool. It's just so recent. There's literally a police guy, and they go to his house, right? And they want to question him, and they go into a house and he's not there, and they're seeing all the trash on the floor. There's flies everywhere, and they're seeing fucking vaginas in a drawer. They seeing fucking faces on the wall. They're seeing the cop ends up being the son of the Jezebel, which is in episode 3, that tells him, "Hey, come and live with me." So then he has a hard time, and this is cool because they ask him to do a lie detector test. Now, ultimately speaking, nowadays we know that they're not liable in court. You cannot use them in court, but back then it was like, okay, well, this is a good advice. And the great thing is Ed was so convinced about his own mentality, was so convinced that this wasn't him, that when he said, hey, did you kill this person? He's like, no, I didn't. And then ultimately what led him to get caught was the fact that, okay, well, they dig up the body, right? So then he got clinically insane, and he didn't get put, right? Now, ultimately speaking, also the narrative speaking is, I did like how they put, right? So for example, he does, and it's kind of creepy. There's gonna be a negative, but it's gonna be also a positive, right? This is gonna be the last one. So we're gonna do a negative. That's already it. I don't want to tell you too much because I want you guys to watch it. It's 4 days old. So yeah, it's been a couple of days. How are you, my friend? Tam, my boy, fucking loved him. Fucking loved him. He's a good person. Fucking loved him. He's a good person. So, yeah. The narrative, the fact that he doesn't understand that he's done something wrong, which is great. Also, finally, the fact that the story ends by him finding Ted Bundy is amazing. I did like that, right? He betrayed the community and at the end he did something good, which is kind of cool. At the end, he's not the same person. He is medicated. He is normal. So they have schizophrenia, which is something that's kind of new, and it finds it right. Negative. I do feel some of characters are so fucking pointless. For example, right? For example, you have, and this is kind of important. So, for example, Albert Hitchcock himself is super important in the culture, but in the movie, it's not important. In the series, it's not important. Like, you do a disservice to the characters. Get Adeline, which is a main source of focus of Ed, but then doesn't serve purposes more than she's insane, and she's guiding him to it. So, for example, my problem with no, not Mind Freak, but Mind Freak, not freak. There's no reality. There's the world of illusion. I love this show. I miss Christine Joel. I heard he was an asshole. This guy, allegedly. So Adeline is super important because what I didn't like about, I'm so sorry. What I didn't like about gein is half of the fucking shows. I want to say like 5 episode. This is him doing what he does. He's killing. He's doing a horrible crime, and he becomes the monster, the murderer of Plainville, whatever. And at the end, it's all about his redemption, right? Which is kind of crazy because you don't feel like he deserves redemption, so and it takes so much space in the story. Like, what the fuck do I care? I don't care about that, right? You're kind of pushing it down my throat. But at the same time, hey, if it's interesting to people, then it's interesting to people, and if they want to watch, they should be able to watch. Sounds good? Sounds great. Mm-hmm. What else? I don't want to speed you up. Don't want to speed you up. Don't want to speed you down. I want to boost the timer. Never gonna give you up. Never gonna bring me down. So, I didn't like the fact that they did such a long period of time for the redemption because they get character like Adeline, which is super important because again, she motivates and she enables Ed to have the that he has to what? See, you want redemption. You want him to feel bad about what he done, right? But if it's not what you want, then don't give me the reason why you have to be forgiven. Say, hey, you did a couple of things, but let's forgive him because he's a nice person, right? So let's give me that. So I didn't like that. Another character is mom. Is mom, who is a fucking devil. She's a bitch. She's so mean. And at the end, she is evangelized, right? And she's like, hey, I love you. And this is cool because this is his perception. And you see the perception and you see like, hey, this is where I belong, right? And this is kind of insane because the last scene is super good. The last scene is pretend like he dies and he goes down a red tunnel. The red tunnel is supposed to be hell and there's all the killers. And then at the top of the stairs there's his mom, and the mom is like, hey, I wait for you. And she's all wearing white, which means heaven. Which in his mind he ends up in heaven. Now, did he end up in heaven if heaven exists? I don't think so, but still. See, the thing with the series is you have so much of the character that are so meaningless. For example, there's this cop, right? And this cop is mom, one of the victim of Ed Gein, right? And because of this victim, this guy loses his mind, right? He becomes an alcoholic. He sued the city. He is pissed off, right? Which is great because it is the whole goal. Uh, yeah, my tailbone is still hurting a lot. Still a lot of pain. Um, so this guy is abused with the system of justice, right? The system of justice is super important, and this is kind of cool because he's like, okay, well, this guy is not insane. He's pretending like he's insane. He killed people, and you're gonna even put him in jail. What the fuck is up with this system? And he tells the character that we love, which is the cops from Shameless. He tells him, hey, don't you realize this is not your America anymore? This is a fucked up place to be in. I want to have more lights. I'm gonna do this. That's why. Okay, that's much better because we moved it to have the battery, so that's why. Yeah, it's just a shame in itself because you put a character like that, and ultimately speaking, the law is a beautiful thing because they're showing like, hey, the law failed us, and the justice system failed us, which is good, but at the same time, three of the eight episodes, which is almost half, is him spending time in a fucking mental hospital institute. So the 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 um, the whole time that he's talking about justice is meaningless because this is the justice system of the 50s. Don't blink, it's your boy Ying. Welcome to our show. Hope doing well for having a wonderful day. This is part two of our final thoughts on the Ed Gibbs series. I'm so sorry I didn't have the storage. Now we have 14 minutes, so I'm gonna have to hurry up. Just there's a ton of concept to explore and the show, which is again Ed Gein the monster. But all of these ID are not important. However, when they do stick with an ID, and that's a shame because they should have stuck with it. When they stick with an ID, this is so good. For example, he goes crazy and he orders like a ham radio, which is one of the first radio where you can talk with people. So, for example, what they have is like a huge talkie-walkie. So you have a radio, and somebody else has a radio, and you can talk to them, right? So he talks to the person Ilsa, which is the bitch of Auschwitz, and he talks to the person who is a transsexual, and you realize that these two calls are super important. So, for example, Ilsa, she says, "Hey, do not let them treat you as a monster. You're more important than that, and this is kind of important. Stand your ground. You're not a monster." And then you have to talk with the I don't remember her name, but she's a transsexual, right? And it's important because it's like she allows himself to be like, hey, not transsexual. You have this genephilia. You're afraid of your part down there, and that's why you're acting the way you are. And she's very reassuring. She's very nice to him. She's like, hey, we're not the same. I'm grateful that you're my fan, but we're not the same. We got nothing alike. And then you realize this is super cool because then you realize that it's him talking. So the ham radio is cut off, right? And this is gonna be a perfect example. The ham radio is cut off, and you can see that Ed is doing both voices. So the female voices, the male voices. But then at the same time, this is great, but there's so much stupid. So for example, with Ilsa, we learn what's a golem. So a golem is a belief in a Jewish culture, which is that a golem will protect them, right? And then Ilsa, which is supposed to be, this is important because Ilsa is talking to Ed Gain, and because she's talking to him, she's like, okay, well, when does it stop? When does it stop talking to each other, right? And it never stops. So yeah, that's pretty much it. So, but then. And then she dies because she unlived herself, which is kind of crazy because, again, this could be seen as Ed Gein thinking about suicide, but at the same time, you never talk to her. So you're telling me that this character that Ed Gein saw as a hero unlive herself, and this could also be seen as guilt, which is good because he feels guilty about what he's done. But again, is it because he doesn't remember killing those people? He remembered digging them up, but not the killings, right? So little A, little B. Now, I will say the last part, the good and the bad, it's gruesome. If you want a horror thing, this is really, really gruesome. For example, there's a fantastic scene where a fantastic scene, one of my favorite scenes ever. But it's so hard to watch. I was streaming Fortnite. There's a scene where it's literally having sex with a dead body, and you're like, oh my god, this is way too much. This is insane. It's insane. And he's imagining that she's responsive, and he puts perfume on her because she smells like death, right? But there's another scene which is, this is straight up disgusting, you know? But there's other scene where you see this, he kills a woman, and he guts her. He guts her with a chainsaw, and then the guy loses his mom, and he's like, hey, I don't feel good about that, right? So then the cop, the police captain, which we like because he's from Shameless, goes in and said, hey, come with us at Thanksgiving. And he has a chainsaw. Well, it's not a chainsaw, but it's an electric knife to cut up the turkey. And the guy is imagining that he's cutting up his mom in front of him. And you see the actual dead body in front of him. So it's disgusting. It goes far. It's hard to watch, but it's supposed to be hard to watch. It's gory. It's not scary. It's gory. And yeah, I actually really enjoyed the show. Would I watch it again? No. Never again. The ending I didn't like, and at the same time, by the way, this is really cool because at the end they said, hey, this is the next monster. So the monster apparently is a three-part series. It's the Jeffrey Dahmer series, is the Mendes brothers series, which you're gonna be watching Jeffrey Dahmer after. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So anyway, hope you get into the video. Thank you so much for watching. Love ya, take it easy, peace.